Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you to the first live coding session of the spring cohorts of Amoye internship, and I hope this is going to be a wonderful ride for everyone. And without wasting much of our time, we are just going to be doing something very short today. We are going to be talking about cloud computing generally. Our curriculum for the DevOps is actually going to be using Microsoft Azure, but the essence of we having live coding sessions is to be able to just showcase all of the capabilities of cloud computing generally. And Azure remains one of the most important and highly utilized cloud computing system that is being used worldwide. So today we are going to be talking about one of the most basic usage of the cloud services, which is storage, and as AWS's solution for that. So AWS solution for storage on cloud is known as AWS S3 buckets, and today I'll be showcasing one of the functionality of S3 buckets, using them for what, for websites. So I'll be dropping this PDF on the group, and people can go through it later. Sorry, this PowerPoint, and you can all go through it later. But this is me just trying to explain what cloud computing is. So cloud computing is a series of servers that are accessed over the internet, and the software and databases that run on these servers. Cloud servers are located in data centers all over the world, and by using cloud computing, users and companies do not have to manage physical servers or run softwares. One of the basic way that this can be explained, I know we are not all newbies, but for people that this might sound foreign to, I don't know, but in Nigeria, we have this concept of something called a cyber cafe. So in a cyber cafe, when you go into a cyber cafe, you pay the owner of the cyber cafe to use internet on their systems. So basically, each cyber cafe, when you go into, most Nigerians should be able to relate to what I'm saying. When you go into a cyber cafe, you see a box that is hung somewhere. And in that box, there's like a white, sometimes it's black, but that is what we call the router. And there are a lot of Ethernet cables running out from those routers. So that is basically the server in that cyber cafe. So each of those cables that come out from that router, they are called the Ethernet cables. Those are what they pass the internet connectivity from that router or from that server to each computer, each system that is located physically in that cyber cafe. So every computer in that cyber cafe, they are interconnected, and they are all connected to that main server, and they all can interact with each other based on the fact that they are all connected on that server. So abstracting all of this, when we don't have all of this in a physical place, imagine when all of these are done over the internet. That is basically what cloud computing is. So it is we moving from physical and on-premise servers and infrastructure. This is when they are moved to servers and infrastructure that are provided to us online. So with this, we don't have to buy those boxes, for example, or we don't have to be the one that has to start making the connections for all of these computers to communicate with each other. They do that automatically. So that's what cloud computing is in like a very, very basic abstract nutshell. So there are many benefits of cloud computing, such as cost saving, is very, very reliable, the security and disaster recovery. So with cloud computing, all of these has been given to us. So the big cloud providers, they help us save a lot of stuff, because when you're using cloud computing, you only pay for what you use. Take for example the instance that I gave. Even on days where the cyber cafe is not active, the server has been bought, that money has been spent. But for when you are using cloud computing, you only pay for days that you use a particular resource, or for days that you are using a particular tool online, and it's reliable. As long as you have your data connection, you are going to have access to all of the features that you want. There's also better security and disaster recovery. So one of the issues that has always been faced previously by the former way of doing things, which is on premises, when there's an issue, let's say a power outage or something happens, data is lost, valuable data, and they cannot be recovered. Why? Because most of the systems that were put in place are still on premises. But with cloud computing, we have like better ways to recover our data, and you see that most of the times you rarely lose data. So AWS is one of the very, very popular cloud service providers. So we have providers that enable us to use that enables us to perform cloud computing, that provide us with resources to be able to perform actions on the cloud. So AWS is the cloud services provided by Amazon, and it is widely used by companies such as Netflix, Twitter, Facebook, and all. So this is just me talking about AWS because it's one of the industry standards. We'll be focusing more on our later coding sections. We'll be focusing more on Microsoft Azure, but AWS remains Microsoft one of the Microsoft standard that can be used that for people that are going to be going further with this. So today we're talking about S3 buckets, and one of the most important services in the cloud is storage services. In our world of today, everybody has to store something, be it picture, music, videos, or anything. Something has to be stored actually. So it is just status quo for us to have a solution of what cloud storage. So this is what enables us to be able to share what things with each other. That's why now you can put something on your Google Drive and share a link to someone that is in another location entirely, and they can also access that file. So we have what cloud storage, where everyone can collaborate on something and we can store our stuff in a place. And with cloud storage now, you don't, if you lose your phone, for example, all of the pictures that were backed up to the cloud, they can be regained automatically. So S3 buckets, that is what Amazon, that is like the equivalent of Google Drive in a way. It is not it's not a parallel comparison, but that's just me saying something. So you can view S3 bucket as an Amazon AWS what equivalent to Google Drive. So with S3 bucket, it's a simple storage that can be used to store what any kind of object. On your Google Drive also, you can store what any kind of object. Objects that are stored in an S3 bucket have the following property. Number one, you have the data they are storing. You have the metadata of the object. That is what kind of object it is. The name is the key and the value of the name, and then is it an image file, is it an MP3 file, and stuff like that, and the unique key identifier. So the unique key identifier is what used to access that object at any point in time. You can just think of it as the Google link that you share to people. So anytime someone clicks on that link, it takes them to that particular file in your Google Drive. So that is what this unique key identifier is in S3 buckets. And what are the benefits of S3 bucket? S3 bucket has a lot of benefits actually. Scalability. Imagine where you don't have to say that I want 200 gigabytes of space, or you want to say that I want 50 gig of space. With S3 bucket, you just create an S3 bucket, and once you keep adding stuff, let's say you add files that expand up to 100 gig, your S3 bucket will automatically scale up to be able to contain the size of files that are up to 100 gig. And the moment you start to clear that bucket and start deleting files is the moment that you see the S3 bucket automatically reduces in size to accommodate the data that is contained in that S3 bucket at that point in time. So with S3 bucket, you don't need to specify that this is the size of it is highly scalable, and there's also high availability and durability. So with S3 buckets, copies of your object are automatically stored in other locations. So there's a 99.999. One cannot be overconfident of anything. So that's why they can't say it's 100% durable, but it's at least 99.9999% durable. So with S3 buckets, anything that you put in an S3 bucket that is stored in that bucket, a copy is automatically created in another region, in the sense that the way S3 works, the way Amazon works is that it has different regions. Let's take Nigeria, which is my home base, for example. So there are different states in Nigeria. So there are cloud centers, there are physical centers where you can think of it as physical centers where your objects are stored, but you don't need to have access to the physical center. So let's say you create your own S3 buckets in in Lagos State region, for example. So when you create your own object, your S3 bucket there, an automatic copy is made in where? An automatic copy is made in, let's say, Osun region or in Ibadan region. So if peradventure anything happens to the Lagos region and there is a loss of data, or there is an issue that occurs in that data center in the Lagos region, the copy that was made automatically in the Ibadan or Osun region is automatically taken, and then anytime you still have access to that your object that was stored. So you have 99.9% durability, where you almost always get your stuff that you need. And S3 buckets provide automatic encryption. Encryption in the sense that that's security. So things that are stored in your bucket are encrypted. So people that should not have access to it do not have access. That's also security. It blocks public access to it. I hope we'll be able to create an S3 bucket today. Because I have power issue unfortunately, and so but I hope we're able to provide one, and you see the option where you can make your bucket publicly available, or you can decide to make your bucket such that anyone that should not have access to that bucket does not have access to that bucket. So S3 buckets can be used to power technologies like websites, mobile apps, backup files, archive, name it, as long as it's something that has to do with what the storage of data, as long as it has to do with what keeping data in a place. S3 bucket can be a solution for it. So we said we are going to be using S3 bucket for static websites. So static websites are websites that are presented to users the way they are stored. Popular examples of static websites are portfolio websites, catalog, blah, blah, blah. So let's say, for example, a restaurant. A restaurant wants to be able to um, a, a restaurant wants to be able to showcase its catalog or its menu, for example, to users. So something like that, all they just need is what? A picture, the price for that particular food, and the amount that someone has to pay for that particular food. So all of these are called what? They are called static files. They are called static data. So this static data, when they are stored in a place, you render them to as the way they are online. So you don't have to perform anything such as like calculation. Is when you perform things like calculation, that's what makes them dynamic. Let's say, okay, you need to refresh and calculate something. So when you serve a website to the way it is stored on your local device, when you serve it online as a website, that's what we call static websites. And since we said that what S3 bucket can be used to store files, and what static website that does showcase files the way they are stored, then that makes what S3 a very, very useful option for what? For static websites. So with the S3 buckets, once you have stored those files in there, you can just make it a static website, such that with that S3 bucket will provide you a link such that it acts as a website where people will be able to showcase all of this stuff, and they will see your website without you even having to join. So all you just have to do is to upload your file to your S3 bucket. Anytime you want to change anything, let's say you want to change the picture or the menu has changed, a particular food is the price has increased, you edit your file and you save it, and your S3 bucket automatically renders that change to that file. So the process of doing this is actually quite simple. It's one of like the most simple thing to perform on AWS. All you just do is, after you create like basically you have to have an AWS account. So after you're creating an AWS account and signing up, but for people in Nigeria, both for AWS as well, most of online platforms, our debit card are not working, our credit card are not working anymore. So I'm saying this for people in Nigeria. So you might have to like look for alternative means for you to create an account. Let's say you can use stuff like Payday or Cheaper Cash to have a virtual card, which will enable you to be able, because whenever you create an account, they need your details for automatic for 1 year you get free access, but they need your details for automatic billing basically. And if you had a Naira debit card or any credit card that is from a Nigerian bank, it won't work. So for people in Nigeria, you might have to look for alternative means for you to be able to add debit card and credit card to your account to complete the creation of your account. So after creating your account, you have to name the bucket, ensure that the bucket is publicly available. So this is a very key thing. If you don't ensure that your bucket is publicly available, you cannot use it for static websites. Why? Because people have to have access to see what is in that bucket for you to be able to render it. So you not ensuring this option will cause an issue. And then you have to configure the bucket for static website, because Amazon has provided that option where you just tick, it's just like a check. Do you want to use this bucket as a static website? You tick it, and if you tick that option, they will provide you a link that will serve as a link to your website. So you can just create the link they provide you, can be rerouted to your own domain or any other thing, but they provide you a link that serves as a website, and you provide the index file for the static website, and you enable permissions for the bucket. So that's that on that. So for us to now see this in action, I'll be sharing my home screen now, and then I'll log into my AWS management console. So to just see if you can at least just create one. I was hoping to be able to do something longer where we'll create create 3 HTML file, index file, link them all together and stuff, just like a very, very basic front end stuff. But I won't be able to do that because my power is out. So to create a bucket, this is a bucket that I used when I was creating the demo. So I'll just create a new bucket, and my battery is low. So to create the bucket, the name of the bucket, I'm going to call it Amoye LCS Spring. So that will be the name of my bucket. And I'm going to say that what I don't want to block up public access. So this is what makes our bucket. This is what makes our bucket available to the public. If you don't click this option, your bucket will be private, and therefore people will not be able to access the things that are on your bucket. So that is all we need to actually do to create the bucket. So I'll click on the create bucket. You can see there are issues with this. So the bucket must not contain uppercase. So I will name this with LCS. And something you should know that if there's a bucket, that means for every user that is using Amazon AWS worldwide, if there's a bucket that has a particular kind of name, you can never ever use that name for your own bucket. So all bucket names have to be unique across all users. So it's not just your account. Each and every single person using AWS has a bucket, and if someone has that bucket, you cannot use it. So you see, objects can be public, but there's no public stuff there. So I'll show you something now. So if I come into this bucket, this is the bucket. You can see that we have no objects in the bucket. You can see copy HDSC. So these are just basic things that will happen. So for me to make this a static website, I just have to come here. You can see the option to make it static website hosting. So I will edit this option and say that I want to enable it for static website. So I'm going to make it host the static website. So you need to specify the index document. So the index document is like your landing page. I don't know, anytime you go to facebook.com or you go to a website, amazon.com. So that first page that you see when you type in a website link on your mobile browser, that is what is called the landing page. So I'll just the status quo among web developers is to use HTML. So index.html. With that, I will save the changes. So with that, but you can see that the index.html file is not yet here. But if I come down here, you can see that this is the link to the link to the website that is being hosted in this S3 bucket. So if I click on this link, you can see there's still a 403 error, access denied. So this is when you see a 403 error, this means that there's no access. So this is what is happening. What is happening here is that although I specified that this bucket can be public, I have not actually made this bucket public yet. So for S3 bucket, there's something you have to do for you to make your bucket actually public. And to do that, we'll go to their documentation. If I just type S3 buckets for public websites, for static websites, sorry. So what we're going to do is we are going to be setting permissions. So what we just did at first was like we specified that yes, our bucket can be our bucket can be public. That means people can access these buckets, but we have not yet given the bucket permissions for people to actually be able to access it. So to do that, you can see that everything that I'm saying here, there's a tutorial for it actually. So if you follow this tutorial, is everything that I've been saying that is there. But to do that, you see that edit public basket, and then you need to set a permission. So this is the permission that we need to set is the policy. So if this policy is not set, you still be having an error. So for me to make sure that I can use this, I'm going to come here and copy this policy. So all of this stuff, they're not things that you have to put in your head because there are a lot of policies you get. So these policies are defined. So when you want to use a particular policy, there's a demo for you to follow, and then you use that policy. So to edit the policy of these buckets, I'll come here to permissions, and you can see this is the bucket policy. So I'll edit the policy. So editing the policy, I'll just Ctrl V, I've pasted this, and I have to change something. I have to change bucket name with the name of this current bucket. So you can see the bucket name was a placeholder, as you said. So I have to replace the bucket name with the name of this bucket, and that's all on this. And I just have to save these changes. If I save this, and then so now if I come to this part, because you can see that at first you see what we have here is what objects can be. Can you confirm if
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's like you went off for a minute. Can't see your screen yet.
okay, how about now? Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So as I was saying before the interruption, so now you can see that previously we had an error of what 403. Now we're having a 404 error. So what this 404 error is trying to tell us is that when I was creating the bucket, I specified that the home page file should be what? An index.html file. But apparently there is no index.html file. So it's telling me that what 404 not found. So that index.html file has not been has not been found. So to do that, I'll just quickly work on something here. So this, okay, let me switch this to my notepad. Sorry. So I want you to see me typing the exactly. So this is my notepad. These are just HTML tags. So H1, let me write Amoye LCS Spring Bots. So I have to close this tag also. It's a closing tag of what H1. Okay, I can include something else. Let me just do a P tag, a P element, and say cloud computing. All right, so I have to close this also with the P tag. So to save this, I'll save this in my documents. Text.html. So just saving that as an HTML file. Save. Okay, so that file has been saved correctly. You see it's index.html, and this is my H1, this is my P tag. So I'll close this. Let me go back to the Chrome browser. Okay, so now I'll go back to the bucket, and now I will upload this index.html file that I just created into that bucket. So if I come here, I'm clicking on the upload. So I can just go to let me just look for that in my document and just drag and drop. So this is the index file, and I'll drag it here exactly. So you can see that this is the index.html file that I want to upload. And all I just have to do is to upload this file. So we wait for this. So you can upload any amount of file that you want, just with a stable connection. And this is we using the this is called the management console, the GUI part of interfacing with AWS. There's a command line version which is which gives you more access, but might be a little bit tricky to navigate. But over time, you can get the hang of it. So if I come now into this bucket and look at the object in this bucket, you can see now that this index.html file is now in this bucket. Okay, and this is the URL for that. So when I was saying that each stuff has a metadata, you can see that this is the key, index.html, the size. So these are basically the metadata of the object, and this is the URL to access this particular object inside this bucket. If I click on this now, it should take me to another tab, and you can actually see the HTML file has been rendered, but this is not where I want us to go through. I want us to go through this in another manner. So I'll come back here, not here. So I want us to come to this bucket, Amoye LCS Spring bucket, and then if we now go to properties this time around, and you can see now that check the internet connection and load. Okay, let me just reload this page. So now if I click on that link that was provided previously for me to access this website, I should just be directed. I should not get a 404 error anymore. I should be directed to that index.html file that I provided. So okay, I'm beginning to have network issues as well. We are almost done. This is basically the last thing that I just want to show. So with this, exactly. So this is the link. So if I click on this now, exactly, you can see this is the index file that was created, and this crack of it. You can see how easy it is to just transition from something that I created on my PC just now. I just uploaded it to my S3 bucket, and voila, I've created a website basically. So to just have a standard website, what you just have to do is to change this from not secure. You use an HTTPS protocol, and then you replace this with your own custom domain, and you are good to go. So with this is how some of like the very, very big portfolio website that I've seen today, portfolio websites, catalog, kitchens, canteens that are very big, that just want to showcase the things that they have, where they don't have to perform a dynamic operation like calculations or stuff. They just want to show you what is in the file. This is a way that they render their websites, and with this, even some people can claim that they are they're a website builder, and you can build a website. So that is basically all for today. I've just wanted to showcase AWS using S3 bucket for static website, and that's like an introduction to what we can do with cloud computing and the kind of functionality that are provided and how easy it is to navigate. So over the course of the internship, we'll be working with Azure and using more Azure functionalities to create other examples of real world scenarios and how they are used. So I hope you guys have a wonderful time in this stage, and I hope you are finding your course easy. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'll be there to answer, and do have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.